This is the presentation about the IT support system for theses.
Yeah, that's correct.
Could you hurry up? I have a lecture myself very soon.
Certainly. Please have a seat.
What's it called? This system, what is it called?
SciPro, supporting the scientific process. Welcome everybody to this session about thesis supervision. You're free to interrupt me anytime during this presentation. And I can see in this hall here that there is a lot of students about to start a thesis project, as well as there are supervisors experienced in this area. We also have experts from 4 different continents participating via Skype. New York, Sydney, Tokyo, and Kigali, Rwanda. Welcome. So, for a start, I'd like to ask Professor Hansson, what is your major concern when it comes to thesis supervision?
Well, being a supervisor for many years, you have to repeat and say the same basic things all over again for each new student. And I don't have time to do that. I want to focus my time on the unique and innovative aspects of a student's work.
Okay, good. Henrik, as a student, what is your major concern when you're about to start your thesis work?
Well, of course, first of all, the requirements for passing the course and the different milestones during the process.
Okay, the grading criteria are easily accessible via SciPro, and so are the milestones.
Excuse me, I have not got the supervisor yet, and I'm not decided on my topic either. Could you explain how the process is for allocating supervisors?
Yes, sure. That's part of the SciPro system. Let me give you a short overview of the whole system to start with. SciPro is short for supporting the scientific process, and the system supports both bachelor, master and PhD students. It consists of 2 major parts. One is the SciPro resources and one is the SciPro projects. And each of these resources and project support features are in relation to stakeholders' interests. So let's have a look at the stakeholders. We have a number of different administrators, a head coordinator, a coordinator of the staff time, a director of studies, assistant administrator and a help desk. We also of course have the students, or we call them authors. We have bachelor, master, PhD, and we also have projects in developing countries. And of course it supports the supervisor's interests too. And we have head supervisors, co-supervisors and external supervisors. So we very much want to encourage team supervision, like a research group. And we have the control function as well, with reviewers and examiners. If we look a little bit more into those 2 parts of SciPro, the SciPro resources is about information, instruction and guidelines, which are general for all students. For instance, there are these frequently asked questions to be found about how to do the thesis, how long time you have to wait for an answer from the supervisor, etc. There are research instructions, information about research approach, there are video tutorials about how to do the research. And as you see on this horizontal axis, that information are mainly for the students, not FAQ very much for the administrators, or tutorials or grading criteria is not relevant, of course. Templates of how to write your thesis, what fonts and layouts and the structure of the thesis is to be found. Different softwares and tools like online web survey tools or statistical software package and things that you can use. Scholarships and grants if you want to travel abroad. Literature we have linked to the university library and to search engines of use, and of course the requirements for being eligible to take the course. The SciPro projects part is the individual project. The resources are general resources for everybody, but the project part is for your individual thesis. So here there are different process support systems or modules. The idea bank, which I'm soon going to explain a little bit more, it's about the allocation of the supervisor, as you asked. We have a support system we call milestones, where you can see what you have to do in different time periods. There is an activity plan, which is a scheduled time and activity plan, what you're going to do when. You can use the default activity plan, you can change it, or your supervisor can change it. There is a shared file archive, and a forum, of course. The way of learning in a thesis is to communicate with mainly your supervisor, but also with other people in your project forum. There is a checklist functionality where you can access questions and decide if you have fulfilled these requirements without asking the supervisor. There is a final seminar module where you can upload your manuscript, and it will be automatically checked for plagiarism as well, so you should not copy-paste. There is a feature where you can register for a final seminar as an opponent or as an active participant. There is a notification system. Everything that happens in your project, if there is a file upload or if there is a message or so, you will be notified in your email, and then you can log in and see what it was. There is a grading module as well, so supervisor, reviewer, and examiner can grade your thesis. So it's done by a number of different people, so you can be sure of a fair grade. Point of departure. What is it? Of course, a good idea is necessary in all research and also in a thesis project, of course. We use the ideas as the matching instrument. So students and supervisors are meeting because they have the same common interest based on an idea. We want, of course, ideas to be in the upper right-hand corner, where we have new ideas, new products, new services. A research project and a thesis should be new in some way. You could use a new question or an old question, but a new method, or a new data, new empirical material. But it should be innovative and new in some ways. So in SciPro there is a feature we called Idea Bank. And in the Idea Bank, students and supervisors can add their ideas for a thesis project. And once a student are putting an idea, they are labeling it with a research area, it is mailed to the supervisor and they can pick it and they are matched. Or the other way around, that supervisors put ideas there and the students see it and they can pick the idea and they are matched. So in this way, the connection between the supervisor and the student is the actual idea. So the students get meaningful context by being part of a supervisor's research project. And for the supervisor, he or she get an extra colleague in the work group. So it's actually very powerful. Of course, ideas can come from everywhere, from the society. So business sector could be connected to the Idea Bank as well as other sectors in society.
Excuse me, can students post ideas in the Idea Bank? Students don't have good ideas.
Good ideas can come from anyone, regardless of status. Don't forget that companies like Google and Facebook were originally started by students. And student today could be your employer tomorrow. I think that if we could take care of ideas from the wider society, from industry and public sector, we could do much more relevant thesis projects.
But I would never give away a good idea to people I don't trust.
Okay, if you want to assign a specific idea to a specific student, without showing it publicly in the Idea Bank, you can do so. Or you can address the topic in a more general way, not disclosing the details of your idea. Or, of course, not put it in the Idea Bank at all. It's up to you. Let's go back to another matching feature in SciPro. We have also a module where we are matching students with students. So this find your project partner, since in our department the students at bachelor level are generally writing in pairs, 2 and 2, so they have to find each other. So with a simple module they write their interest for thesis topics, and then the student can find each other and they are matched in this way.
Sounds like a great process. But do I need to rewrite my ideas every year if I want to include new students in my research projects?
No, you can reuse and store as many ideas as you want in the Idea Bank. They are only visible for students to take for a thesis project when you have supervisor time allocated for that particular time period. Sorry if I interrupt, but what happens if ideas are not taken? Well, yes, the ideal situation is, of course, that the students' ideas are taken by a supervisor or
the supervisor's ideas are taken by students. But if there are leftover ideas and people, then an administrator has to arrange this matching between student and supervisor. So the advice is, of course, to be as attractive as possible with your idea as a student. The same for a supervisor. So let's have a look at the project side of SciPro from a supervisor point of view. I'm now logged in as a supervisor, but I can also change and filter my role as a reviewer or co-supervisor of projects. You can also filter your projects according to whether they are bachelor projects, master, PhD or ICT for development projects, if they are active or inactive and completed or non-completed. You can see the project state, which I will explain a little bit later. You can see when they are starting, they have been started, and then you can go to the particular details of each project from this page. So if we click on one project, one example here, you see who the students are, we call them authors, and who is the head supervisor. In this case, it's myself, and there are co-supervisors. Each project have milestones, activity plan, files, forum, final seminar tab, and peer functionality checklist. I will tell you a little bit more about these things. But first, I want to explain a little bit about the progress indicators. We have two different: project state and milestones. The subjective progress, I mean how students feel and how the project is going when you hear nothing from the student. This is an indicator they can change from green to red, telling if they are working as planned, which is a green project. Then you don't have to do anything as a supervisor. But if it's red, they need urgent help. And if it's yellow, then they need feedback, but it's enough with the next meeting. Milestones is the objective progress indicator. It shows how many of the mandatory tasks in the project they have to do. For instance, if there is a peer review, if there is an opposition report, etc. And the milestones can be different for different departments and different levels of if there are bachelor, master, etc. Excuse me, I have a question. If two students are writing together, how can they get fair individualized grades? There are individual tasks in each thesis project as well. They are listed in the milestones, so you can see if a student has done that and that activity. For instance, there are individual peer reviews, individual opposition that they have to do, but they do the thesis work together. So you can assign different grades for two students writing in pair. So let's see, I go back one slide and just mention activity plan as well, because milestone is what you have done and activity plan is what you're planning to do. Some of it is to reach a certain milestone, but it could also be minor things like getting permission from parents to do a study on children, etc. So the activity plan is an individual schedule where you can set dates for activities in your project. There are default plans for a bachelor or master project, but you can of course change this time and dates for different activities. So let's go to checklists. Checklist is an important feature in SciPro. Dynamic checklist where students can self-assess their learning and getting cues without asking the supervisor for different phases in the research process. So there are checklists for a project plan, for a methods chapter, for data analysis, etc. So they can use this for self-evaluation, but they can also upload a checklist when they want peer review, which is facilitated by SciPro in a unique peer review module. Actually, we have had in the system about 1,200 peer reviews done by students themselves without any interference or administration by supervisors, using a checklist which is about 15 questions, which makes around 18,000 question and answer interactions facilitated. Basically, checklist is a kind of a introduction of a dialogue, posing questions which is helping the students to getting the cue what they need to self-assess and to know when they are doing things in the thesis. So there are to-do lists and there are also these evaluation questions. Does SciPro reduce face-to-face interaction?
No, not at all. You can continue in the same way as before with face-to-face interaction. SciPro is just an added value to increase communication even on a distance. It can be used as a supporting distance supervision, but also normal campus supervision. But it doesn't reduce any interactivity or any face-to-face interaction. Okay, then we have the final seminar module, which is very important for administrating a lot of students' oral defense and the final manuscript. So the final seminar, with a little time and little effort, a supervisor can schedule the room, the date for a final seminar, and the students upload their final manuscript, and by doing that, automatically generating an anti-plagiarism report. So it is to be sure that they haven't plagiarized and copied from the internet or any databases. Also, there is a grading module according to the thesis grading criteria, where supervisors and examiners can grade the thesis. Just a moment. We got a question from Virunga National Park in Rwanda, in front of the gorillas. Excuse me, what happens if examiners doesn't agree? Then they have to discuss and agree, and if they can't agree, they have to be a third professor involved who decides the grade. Okay, fine. This is the process for bachelor and master students, but what about PhD students? That's true. For instance, the idea bank is not relevant in the same way as for master and bachelor students. They already have a supervisor. They don't need to be matched with someone. However, the idea bank is very important for PhD students also, if they need to start new projects and get good ideas, but in a different small-scale way, by inviting trusted colleagues or other researchers and continue refine the idea in forum, for instance. So a lot of features in SciPro is still relevant, like the forum for communication, notifications of what's happening in the SciPro system, the shared files archive. And additionally, since the PhD project is a 4-year project, it is managing a lot of administrative aspects of a PhD student's work. For instance, if they have done their mandatory courses, how many, there are different milestones, and also how they are using their funding. It could be managed by the supervisor easily, and the study plan upgraded every year or in real time. I think it's time to summarize. I don't have time to go into detail how to operate the system as such. There are many video tutorials for each feature in SciPro. But let's have a look. Some of the modules for administration, I've already spent a lot of time talking about the idea bank and the matching of students and supervisors and finding a partner, the way we use what I can call meta supervision by using checklists for everybody, by using the same information in resources for everybody. That also generates a lot of statistics in real time about all the projects and their status at the department or at the university level, which is a very important resource for identifying where to put in extra resources, etc. Here is an overview of the different processes that are supported by SciPro. There are emphasis on group processes, team supervision, teams of students, and to coordinate the students to do peer reviews, etc. There are all these resources for making students self-driven and autonomous in their own learning, not needing to ask the supervisor for all things they need. There is the automatic integration with plagiarism tests. With the final seminar, there are the things that reduces the burden for the supervisor by already asking the student through checklists, for instance, having the milestones very easily overview of how much each student have done. And the project state, if the project is going as planned and it's green marked, or if it's urgently needed feedback. Also, there is a matching between industry ideas or industry needs and the academia thesis work and the relevance of our competencies from resulting in doing thesis work. That's another matching thing. And my last slide would be this overview, which is actually one of the first slides I did when I started this project. and it shows the two individuals, the students and the supervisors, and their benefits. Each of these boxes are, you know, another hour of lecture, but we also have the two organizations and the university and the business or work life and their benefits of the system. So the idea is to create a win-win-win-win system for winners, and they all are looking at different things and they all get different things as well. So that's what we hope that SciPro can contribute with. Thank you.